All right, so today we're going to be doing a deep dive into leadership.
Okay.
And we're going to be looking at part 4 of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Excellent.
Now, we're going to assume you've read the book at least once.
Sounds good.
So we can kind of dig in a little bit deeper here
Yeah.
to the concepts that are in this section of the book.
Looking forward to it.
So what I thought was really fascinating about this section is that it moves beyond the sort of superficial level of interacting with people.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of gets into like the psychology of how to influence people.
Totally agree. And I think it's the part where Carnegie really shines because he understood you can't just give people a bunch of tips on how to shake hands or smile more.
Yeah.
You have to actually understand how people tick and how to tap into their motivations and their psychology.
Yeah. And so the first principle in this section is begin with praise and honest appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I first read this, I was like,
Yeah, I get it.
if I'm about to like critique someone,
Yeah.
isn't that just going to like soften the blow too much? Like, shouldn't I just get to the point?
Right.
What do you think?
Well, it's funny because it is counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
You would think if you have to give someone negative feedback or constructive criticism that you just want to get to the point and rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
But what Carnegie is saying here is actually, if you want to get someone to be open to your message, you have to first create the right kind of atmosphere. And that atmosphere begins with acknowledging what's good about them, acknowledging their strengths.
So you're saying it's more strategic?
It's 100% strategic.
Yeah.
It's not about being nice to be nice.
Mm.
It's about being nice because it actually disarms the other person.
Mm-hmm.
It gets them to be more receptive to what you have to say.
But I feel like there's a danger there that could feel disingenuous.
100%. And that's where the honest part comes in.
Right.
It can't be fake praise.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just say, oh, I love your hair, when you really don't care about their hair. It has to be genuine praise, something that you actually see in them. And it doesn't even have to be related to the thing that you're about to critique. It could be about their work ethic. It could be about their attitude. It could be about anything that's genuinely positive that you see in them.
Okay, so like even in a situation where I do need to deliver some tough feedback,
Yeah.
there's always something positive I can highlight.
There's always something, I mean, think about it. Everyone has strengths, right? It just takes a moment to reflect on what those strengths are.
Okay, so then you're kind of shifting the dynamics.
That's it.
They're not going to feel attacked.
Exactly.
They're going to be more open to hearing what I have to say.
Yes. And, Carnegie gives a great example in the book of a manager who needs to give an employee some suggestions for improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just launching right into the critique, the manager starts by praising the employee for their recent successes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really important point because not only does it soften the blow, it actually reinforces the behavior that you want to see more of.
Oh, that's interesting. So from the employee's perspective,
Yeah.
if you're constantly just getting negative feedback,
Yeah.
you're going to be demoralized.
Absolutely.
But if you feel appreciated and valued,
Yes.
you're going to be more likely to improve.
100%.
Okay?
It creates a positive feedback loop.
Right.
When you feel good about yourself, you're more likely to do good work. And when you do good work, you're more likely to get praised. And that just keeps that cycle going.
I like that. So it's a positive feedback loop.
It is.
Okay, so let's move on to principle number 2.
Okay, number 2.
Call attention to mistakes indirectly.
Ooh, this one's juicy.
So this one I feel like is so relevant
Yes.
because we're in this age of social media. Oh my gosh.
Where it's like call-out culture.
Yeah.
Like just get them,
Yeah.
And so how do you deliver constructive criticism
Yeah.
without just like making someone feel like they're being publicly shamed?
Right. Well, I think what's interesting about this principle is that Carnegie is essentially saying we need to rediscover the art of subtlety.
Right.
It's not about being passive-aggressive. It's about being tactful. It's about finding ways to guide the conversation in a way that allows the person to recognize their own errors without feeling like they're being attacked or put on the spot.
So you're not just saying like you did this wrong.
Exactly.
You're kind of leading them to that realization.
You're leading them to the realization, and you're also conveying respect for their intelligence. You're assuming that they're capable of figuring things out on their own with a little bit of guidance.
Oh, I like that. You're not just like dictating.
You're not dictating
the solution.
You're not being a dictator. No one likes a dictator.
No, and like nobody likes to be told what to do.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everyone wants to feel like they have a sense of agency.
Yeah, okay, so it's a more collaborative approach
Very much so.
to problem solving.
And that's what leadership is all about, right?
Yeah.
It's not about you having all the answers. It's about working together to find the best solutions.
Okay, so principle number 3.
Yes.
Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing others.
Oh, I love this one.
This one, I can see how that would build trust,
Mm.
but couldn't that backfire?
In what sense?
Like, I don't want to come across as incompetent.
Right. Yeah, no one wants to follow a leader who has no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I think the key here is to be strategic about it. It's not about showcasing your incompetence. It's about showing vulnerability.
Okay, so it's not like I'm just going to tell them about every mistake I've ever made.
No. It's about choosing the right mistakes, to share the ones that are relevant to the situation, and the ones that will help the other person feel less alone.
So I could say like, oh yeah, I remember when I did that. Like I totally messed that up too.
Yeah, and it humanizes you. It makes you relatable.
Instead of me being up here and you being down there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It breaks down the hierarchy. It creates a sense of partnership.
And so then they feel like we're in this together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when people feel like they're on the same team, they're more likely to be receptive to feedback, even when it's critical.
So it's not just about softening the blow of the criticism.
No, it's about creating a culture of trust and mutual respect.
Okay, so you're creating a culture where
Okay.
mistakes are seen as opportunities for growth.
Yes.
Okay, principle number 4.
Let's hear it.
This one I really like. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders.
Ooh, this is a good one. What's your initial reaction to this one?
I like it, but does it always work?
Right. Because sometimes you need to be decisive, right? Sometimes you need to say, do this, and that's it. But I think what Carnegie is getting at here is that in most situations, asking questions can actually be a more effective way to lead because it empowers people. It makes them feel like they have a voice in the decision-making process.
Okay, so instead of just telling them what to do,
Yeah.
I could say, like, what do you think would be the best way?
Exactly. Or what are your thoughts on this? Or how would you approach this problem? Those are all questions that invite people to think critically and contribute their own ideas.
So it's less top-down.
It's less top-down, it's more collaborative, and it also shows that you value their input.
And so you get buy-in, too.
You get buy-in, you get engagement, you get people who are actually invested in the outcome.
So instead of it being like my way or the highway, you're kind of saying like, hey, let's figure this out together.
Let's figure this out together. Let's brainstorm.
Yeah.
Let's use all of our collective brain power to come up with the best solution.
Okay, so principle number 5.
Hit me.
Let the other person save face.
Oh, this one's important.
This one I feel like is especially important when
Yeah.
there's a lot of tension.
Yeah, or conflict.
Yeah, so it's like protecting their dignity
Mm-hmm.
even when they messed up.
Exactly.
Like, how do I hold them accountable?
Right. Well, that's where the art of leadership comes in. It's about finding that balance between holding people accountable for their actions, but also preserving their self-respect. Everyone makes mistakes, and it's how we handle those mistakes that really defines us as leaders.
So it's not about letting them off the hook.
No, it's not about letting them off the hook. It's about creating a space where they can learn from their mistakes and grow without feeling humiliated or demoralized.
So you're saying it's about focusing on the behavior,
On the behavior, not the person.
not the person.
Right, because when you attack the person, you just create defensiveness.
Mm.
But when you focus on the behavior, you open up the possibility for change.
So instead of saying like, you're always late,
Yeah,
you could say like, hey, I noticed you've missed a couple of deadlines lately.
exactly. And then you can ask a question like, is there anything going on that's preventing you from meeting those deadlines? Or is there anything I could do to help you manage your workload more effectively?
So I'm not just assuming that they're being lazy.
Right, exactly. You're showing empathy. You're showing that you care, and you're also giving them an opportunity to explain themselves.
Okay, so we're trying to create an environment where people feel safe to admit their mistakes.
Yes.
All right, principle number 6.
All right, bring it on.
Praise every improvement, no matter how small.
I love this one because it's all about positive reinforcement.
Yeah, and like, how does that actually work?
Well, it's fascinating because our brains are actually wired to respond to positive feedback. When we receive praise, our brains release dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and motivation. And so it creates this positive feedback loop where we're more likely to repeat the behaviors that led to that reward.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's not just about making people feel good. It's about literally rewiring their brains for success.
So it's not just like empty flattery.
No. It has to be genuine. It has to be specific. It has to be about something that they actually did well.
So I could say like, hey, I noticed that you did this.
Yeah. Or I really appreciate how you handled that situation, or you've really improved in this area. Whatever it is, be specific and be genuine.
Okay, so like even the smallest improvements.
Even the smallest improvements, because Those small wins build momentum.
Yeah.
They create a sense of progress, and they make people feel like they're moving in the right direction.
So it's like those little micro affirmations.
Exactly. Those little moments of recognition can make a huge difference,
Much
especially
better.
if someone is feeling discouraged or like they're not making progress.
So if I see someone who's like struggling to
Yeah.
do something and then they finally get it,
Yes.
that's a big moment.
That is a big moment.
Yeah.
And it's a moment that deserves to be celebrated because you're not just celebrating the achievement, you're celebrating the effort, the persistence, the willingness to learn and grow.
Yeah. And, Carnegie gives that example of praising the shy colleague
Yes,
who finally speaks up in a meeting.
exactly. Because that takes courage. And it's a moment that deserves to be acknowledged and celebrated.
Okay, so principle number 7.
All right, what is it?
This one's a little bit mind-bendy.
Okay, I like mine, Eddie.
Give the other person a fine reputation to live up to.
Ooh, I like that.
Now, this sounds like you're setting high expectations.
It is about setting high expectations, but it's not about setting arbitrary expectations. It's about identifying the positive qualities that someone already possesses and then encouraging them to cultivate those qualities further.
So I could say, like, I've always admired your...
Exactly.
Yes.
Your creativity, your work ethic, your attention to detail, whatever it is that you genuinely see in them, call it out and then watch them rise to the occasion.
So it's almost like you're giving them a positive label.
You give them a positive label to embrace. And there's actually a psychological phenomenon called the Pygmalion effect, which suggests that higher expectations lead to improved performance. So when you believe in someone and you communicate that belief to them, they're more likely to rise to the occasion.
So I could say, like, I know you can do this.
Yes.
I believe in you.
And that belief can be incredibly powerful
So if I'm trying to motivate someone,
to like achieve something.
Mhm.
And I tell them that I believe they can do it.
You're planting a seed of possibility. And you're giving them the confidence to believe in themselves.
That's powerful.
It is powerful. And it's something that we can all do. We all have the power to see the best in others and to inspire them to greatness.
Okay, so principle number 8.
All right, almost there.
Use encouragement and make faults seem easy to correct.
Oh, this one's about mindset.
It's about framing those challenges
Yeah.
in a positive light.
It's about turning those stumbling blocks into stepping stones.
Yeah. Okay, so like instead of saying like, you really messed this up, I could say,
You could say something like, hey, I know this is a tough one, but with a little practice, I'm confident you'll master it.
so I'm not focusing on what went wrong.
Exactly.
I'm giving them a path forward.
You're giving them a path forward, and you're also conveying confidence in their ability to learn and grow.
Okay, so I'm not going to be like, you're a failure. No. It's about saying, hey, we all make mistakes. It's part of the learning process, but I believe in you and I know you can do this.
It's a more encouraging way
Much more encouraging, and it's much more effective.
to deliver that feedback.
Absolutely.
Okay, last principle.
All right, let's hear it.
Make the other person happy about doing what you suggest.
Okay, this one is all about motivation.
So you're saying it's not about me being a dictator.
No.
It's about me understanding
Yes.
what motivates them.
Absolutely. Everyone is motivated by different things, and the more you understand what makes people tick, the better equipped you'll be to inspire them to action.
So, like, some people are motivated by money.
Yeah.
Some people are motivated by recognition.
Recognition, praise, a sense of accomplishment, making a difference in the world.
So I need to know my people.
You need to know your people. You need to know what makes them light up, what gets them excited, what makes them feel valued and appreciated.
Because if I can align the task
Yes.
with their interests,
Yes.
then it's a win-win.
It's a win-win for everyone. They're happy because they're doing something they enjoy, and you're happy because the job is getting done well.
Wow. So this has been like a real mind shift.
It's a paradigm shift. It's about moving from a mindset of control to a mindset of collaboration and empowerment.
So these principles are not about me manipulating people.
Not at all. They're about understanding human nature and using that understanding to create win-win situations.
It's about empowering them.
It is about empowering them to become the best versions of themselves.
This has been really interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I'm starting to think about how I can apply these
Yeah,
in my own life.
that's great to hear because that's the whole point, right? It's not just about acquiring knowledge. It's about applying it to make a positive difference in our lives and in the world around us.
It's not just theory.
No, it's about real-world application.
It's about actually putting these principles into practice.
And You don't have to master all 9 principles overnight. Just pick 1 or 2 that resonate with you and start experimenting with them. See how they can transform your interactions with others.
So we've explored these principles in theory, but how do we actually use them?
Right, like how do we apply these in the real world?
Like, give me a scenario.
Okay, so let's say you're a manager and you have a team member who's been consistently missing deadlines.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's a tough one, right? Because it's easy to get frustrated and just want to come down hard on them.
Yeah, you just want to yell at them.
But that rarely solves the problem long term.
So what do I do?
Well, let's think about how we can reframe this situation using Carnegie's principles.
Okay.
So instead of starting the conversation with a reprimand, what if you start by acknowledging their strengths?
Okay, so like they're really good at coming up with creative solutions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a great problem solver, or they have a knack for thinking outside the box. Remind them of their value to the team.
So I could say something like, hey, I really appreciate your creative thinking.
Yes, and how you always come up with innovative solutions.
Right, and then I could transition into the missed deadlines.
Exactly. And remember Carnegie's advice about calling attention to mistakes indirectly.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of saying you've missed 3 deadlines in a row,
Right.
you could ask a question like, have you been encountering any obstacles in meeting the deadlines?
So I'm not like accusing them.
Exactly. You're opening up a dialogue.
And giving them a chance to explain.
Exactly. And you might be surprised by what you learn. Maybe they're feeling overwhelmed or they're lacking certain resources.
So instead of assuming, I'm like, hey, what's going on?
Right? And by asking questions, you're also demonstrating empathy.
Like I care.
Yes.
Hmm.
And you're willing to work together to find a solution.
Okay, that makes sense. What if I've made similar mistakes in the past?
Share them.
Really?
Absolutely. It humanizes you, and it shows that you're not perfect.
So I could be like, yeah, I remember when I did that.
Exactly, and I totally messed that up too.
Yeah.
But here's what I learned from it.
So it's like we're in this together.
Exactly. We're all learning and growing together.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how these principles can create a more supportive work environment.
It's not about avoiding accountability. It's about creating a framework for growth and improvement.
Okay, give me another scenario.
Okay, let's say you're leading a team and you need to delegate a really challenging task.
Okay.
How do you use these principles to inspire your team to embrace the challenge?
Well, first I'd make sure I'm choosing the right person for the job.
Absolutely. Someone who has the skills and the potential to succeed.
And then I'd tell them that I believe in them.
Exactly. Remember that principle about giving them a fine reputation to live up to?
Yeah, like I know you can do this.
Yes. And I'm confident that you have the skills and the talent to make this happen.
And then I'd also explain how their work is going to contribute to the bigger picture.
Absolutely. Because people are more motivated when they feel like their work has meaning and purpose.
So it's not just about checking a box.
No, it's about making a difference.
And if they hit a roadblock,
Yeah, what do you do?
I could offer encouragement and frame it as an opportunity to learn.
Exactly. Remember Carnegie's advice about making faults seem easy to correct?
So instead of being like, you messed up.
You could say something like, I know this is a tough challenge, but I'm here to support you every step of the way. With a little persistence, I know you'll figure it out.
That's way more encouraging.
Much more encouraging, and it keeps people motivated.
You know, it's interesting because these principles aren't just for work.
No, they're for life.
They apply to any relationship.
Absolutely. Whether you're a parent, a teacher, a friend, a colleague, these principles can help you create more positive and productive relationships.
So it's about shifting our mindset.
From control to collaboration, from judgment to empathy.
From me to we.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all in this together.
Okay, so we've talked about the theory and we've applied it to some hypothetical situations, but I want to hear about real-world examples.
Okay, like people who actually use these principles?
Yeah, like leaders who have achieved remarkable results using these principles.
Oh, absolutely. There are countless examples throughout history of leaders who have embodied these principles both consciously and unconsciously.
Okay, like who?
Well, let's start with someone who's often considered one of the most effective leaders in American history, Abraham Lincoln.
Lincoln, like the president.
Yes, the one and only.
What does he have to do with Dale Carnegie?
It might seem like an odd connection, but when you look at Lincoln's leadership style, you see these principles woven throughout his approach. He was known for his ability to unite a divided nation during one of its most tumultuous periods.
I mean, he did lead the country through the Civil War.
Exactly. And he did it with grace, compassion, and an unwavering belief in the power of unity.
Okay, but how did he actually do it?
Well, one of the keys to his success was his profound empathy.
Empathy.
Even when faced with fierce opposition, he made a deliberate effort to understand the perspectives of those who disagreed with him.
That's amazing.
It is. And it's a reminder that even in the midst of conflict, we can choose to lead with understanding rather than judgment.
So even when people were like literally fighting each other.
Yes, even then he saw the humanity in his opponents.
It's like that saying, love your enemies.
It is, and it's a powerful reminder that we don't have to agree with someone to respect them.
So how does this relate back to Carnegie?
Well, think about Carnegie's principle of letting the other person save face.
Oh, yeah.
Even in the heat of battle, Lincoln didn't seek to humiliate or overpower his opponents.
He was trying to build bridges.
Exactly. He understood that preserving relationships was essential, even in the face of profound disagreements. He didn't just want to win arguments, he wanted to win hearts and minds.
And ultimately, he wanted to save the country.
And he did.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to the power of leadership that's rooted in empathy, compassion, and a genuine desire for unity.
Okay, so Lincoln was amazing, but he was also like a long time ago.
True. Are there any more recent examples?
Yeah, like someone from like this century.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There are so many incredible leaders out there who are quietly making a difference in their communities and beyond. Let me tell you about this one CEO I met recently.
It's really inspiring to hear how these principles can work on such a large scale.
It's proof that these ideas are not just feel-good theories. They can actually create real change.
It kind of makes you realize that we all have the potential to make a difference.
Absolutely. Every interaction we have is an opportunity to lead.
Whether it's at work or at home or even just like in line at the grocery store.
You know, it's funny you mention that because I think sometimes we get caught up in this idea that leadership is about having a fancy title or a corner office.
Right, like you have to be the CEO or something.
Yeah, but that's just not true. Leadership is about influence.
So it's not about what's on your business card.
It's about how you show up in the world. It's about how you treat other people. It's about the impact you make.
So anyone can be a leader.
Anyone. And that's both empowering and a little bit daunting, right? Because it means we all have a responsibility to step up.
And to use that influence for good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just be successful. We have to be good humans.
I like that. So how can we apply these principles in our everyday lives?
Well, I think the first step is to just be more aware of how we're interacting with others.
Yeah. So like pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention to how you're communicating. How are you making people feel? Are you listening with empathy? Are you offering support? Are you creating a space for growth?
And remember that it's okay to make mistakes.
In fact, it's essential.
So don't be afraid to admit when you're wrong.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Because nobody's perfect.
And the best leaders are the ones who are willing to learn and grow.
This has been such an amazing deep dive.
I've really enjoyed it.
I've learned so much about leadership.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I hope our listeners have too.
So as we wrap up this episode,
Yes.
What's one thing you want our listeners to take away from this conversation?
I would say choose one of these principles and really commit to practicing it this week.
Just one.
Yeah. Pick one that resonates with you and see how it changes your interactions.
That's a great challenge.
It is. And it's a challenge that can have a ripple effect.
Because when we change ourselves...
Let's change the world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep leading with heart.